Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. A popular XRP analyst insists that XRP is in bull territory right now, this very second, even though it hasn't ripped to the upside yet. And frankly, unless you think altcoins in general aren't going to go on a rampage sooner than later, you'll probably agree this analyst is making at least, I'd say, a really fair and reasonable point about where XRP is in the market cycle. And it's fascinating to see that this is against the backdrop of people in recent days entering, for some people, actual despair. Now, I don't know that that's most of the market participants at this point. In fact, I don't think that is the case. But you can see there's an absolute notable big, like truly big dip in terms of the market sentiment here. And I'll show you more on that in a second here. But just consider this at the outset. In terms of like the big players distributing into the market, if you're taking a look at people who have held Bitcoin for a long period of time, there's a very popular macro analyst who says those particular speculators or holders, whatever you want to call them, they're actually not selling their Bitcoin even when Bitcoin popped up to around $49,000. They weren't selling. And there's, to this point, no indication that they're going to be selling anytime soon, even with number go down, at least in the short term here. So anyway, plenty to share with you in this video, but before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Worth noting, at least over the last few days or so, XRP's been holding up a bit better than Bitcoin. XRP at 58 cents, Bitcoin down to $42,722. Market cap for the asset class, 1.69 trillion. But take a look at this one. Ooh, Crypto Fear and Greed Index, 52 out of 100. Folks, market participants here are no longer in greed. They are neutral at this point. You drop a little bit lower, you're going to be back into fear if that happens, which it could. But just imagine a week ago, we were at 71 out of 100, which was greed. And we even got into extreme greed for one day. And here we are now neutral. It's so funny how quickly things change. Can you imagine living the life of the typical lemming retail speculator? Buyer just flying by the seat of your pants. Whatever the price is doing that day, I'm going to feel emotions associated with whatever that price directionally is doing. Oh my God, that is no way to live. That's not how this works. Either we're right and the asset class gets way bigger, and a lot of these large caps have some sort of future, or we're wrong and all of it goes to zero. What is your conviction? And so, that's why for me, having broad exposure to the asset class and not with a bunch of small cap coins and micro caps, just having exposure to the asset class with large and some mid-cap coins, just over the long haul, I have extreme confidence in that. And the cool thing is, even if most of the coins I hold don't really make it and they go to zero, because I hold about 30 different coins, all I need is a few to really take off in a meaningful way over the span of X number of years, however long I end up holding them, and then it's fine. That's what it's like. And so I kind of built my own little crypto index fund effectively. And there was this post from my fellow XRP YouTuber, The Bearable Bull, and he wrote, "As the price crashes during the ETF approval, remember those who told you it'd happen. Long-term bullish on 2024. Okay, so that resonated with me, and that's why I wanted to share it with you in this video. Spot on right there. And admittedly, fair enough, I was calling for a sell the news event. That was my for fun prediction. We didn't get that, but we sure as hell didn't get a buy the news event. We did not get a buy the news event, and we've been slipping to the downside. And so if I had to make a second guess before this all happened, I suppose that if you asked me, well, okay, let's say it's not a sell the news event, Matt, would you suppose that the price still goes down to some degree, or it's a buy the news event? I would still say price go down. Why wouldn't it? It's like in history, when you see these types of things and people are buying into this narrative, invariably, the most likely outcome is that people are going to sell when you get to that point. And so fine, it wasn't some massive sell-off, but price has gone down. Now, I don't pretend to know if we're bottoming out right here, although I'm going to share with you a perspective from an analyst that thinks that we actually are. But I'll just say this, even if we do go lower into the $30-something thousand range from this point, I will not be scared. It doesn't matter. This is normal. If you're in crypto, you have to know that this is the most volatile asset class on the entire planet. You have to know, based on historic precedent, going back 15 years now, it's normal even during bull cycles to have pullbacks of over 30%. You should expect that. And then if you know that's logically the case, that you should expect that to occur if you're going to have exposure over a long period of time, then you can also logically come to the conclusion that it doesn't make sense to let the feels, to let the emotions get the best of you. So if you want to sell, sell. If you want to buy. I don't care. I'm not advising that. I'm just noting, here's what the market has done, and it would be weird if this is the point where the market stops doing what the market has done for 15 years. Fair, right? I think that's pretty fair. And the Bearable Bull actually noted here when asked, how far do you think it goes down? He said $30,000 to $35,000. And he could be right. I don't get into the game of making predictions about where the price is going to go, other than directionally over the long haul. My bet is that XRP and the asset class on the whole ripping to the upside over the long haul. And that's the great thing about being someone like me who is not an analyst. I don't have to make those predictions. All I have to do is sit here and do nothing after I buy. That's it. It's an awesome investment strategy so far as I'm concerned. It's the very best. Here we had a post from Credible Crypto, and this is from last night, 8:19 p.m. If anyone's curious, at the time I'm recording, it is 3:14 a.m., January 15th. This is Monday, 2024. And so just a little bit ago, 8:19 p.m. Last night, Credible Crypto wrote the following. Because mind you, again, the price of Bitcoin has gone down. I mean, you're looking at over the last 7 days, 2.9%. But if you look at from where the high is, obviously the percentage is a bit higher than that. I didn't crunch the numbers before recording the video, but obviously if you're talking about, hitting a high, it peaked. And I understand on the day it didn't peak out at 49,000, as far as a close, but it did hit about $49,000. So if you're talking about going from that to the current price level of $42,755, yeah, I understand that you're going to see that there are certain market participants who just are going to get a little spooked by this. But, you have a weekly candle that's not looking so hot. Is that the end of the world? Well, here's what Credible Crypto has to say. Seeing a lot of comments on how bad this most recent weekly candle looks, so felt it was a good time to retweet the tweet below. Our last 2 weekly candles that looked like this both preceded full-on reversals. This isn't to say that the weekly candle doesn't look bad. It does. But looks can be deceiving and context matters. Using a single candle alone to form your bias is not the way. And he shared a post from September 1st, 2023, where he was sharing the same concept. And here it is, it's just a Bitcoin price chart from that time period, just a few months ago. And he wrote the following, sharing the same concept. Because again, it's scary weekly candle, then what happened? Blazes to the upside ultimately. And so here's what he wrote on September 1st. I know it looks bad, but it looked bad at $15,000 too. After our bearish weekly candle at $15,000, we only drifted about 2.5% lower before finding our bottom. Looks can be deceiving, which is why you can't base your bias off of how things look. A break in market structure at $24,800 is the first indication that a potential trend shift may be occurring. Until then, it might look bad, but it really isn't Bitcoin. So just take it for what it's worth. It doesn't mean for sure it can't keep going to the downside, and nobody knows for sure, but we're talking about analysis and like this. It's about probability of outcome. And then there's this from XRP chart analyst Dark Defender. Here we have an XRP price chart in United States dollars. And he wrote the following. So this is what I was referencing at the outset of the video. And I find this to be perfectly reasonable. Basically what he's doing is just taking a look at how long has XRP been in bear territory, historically, how long has it been in bull territory, what might be likely if history is more or less to repeat or kind of rhyme with itself. That's basically the concept here. And so I find this to be perfectly reasonable. And so he wrote the following. Hi all, the parabolic stop and reverse indicator in the monthly time frame tell us we are in a bullish cycle based on XRP history. Cycles since 2014, and then he lists it out, and it's as follows. 30 months of bearish cycle, 20 months of bullish cycle, 29 months of bearish cycle, 13 months of bullish cycle, 19 months of bearish cycle. And then he notes, sixth cycle we are in is bullish for 6 months. Considering the minimum bullish cycle of 13 months and a maximum of 20 months, we can expect at least the average of, so 13 plus 20 divided by 2, which equals, of course, 16 and a half months. Since we are at the sixth, we could expect 10 more months for XRP to stay bullish. The chart intersection indicates the wedge will be eliminated on or before May 2024. And so look, I don't pretend to know exactly how long things are going to go, and when it comes to timing markets, I think it's impossible. But he's just talking about, based on historic precedent, might it be somewhere in this realm? And so that's why I would say, when it comes to this idea of XRP, where it's at in the market cycle, well, even if it hasn't melted faces yet, it's in bull mode, right? I mean, no matter what you say, unless you think that we're not going to have new highs, and then I'd be with you. If the thesis is we're not going to have new highs, just across the board, okay. But if we are, yeah, this makes all the sense in the world. Why would XRP not participate in that? That's silly as far as I'm concerned. And I know there's no guarantee. And investing is risky. I could be wrong and I could just lose everything and XRP goes to zero. I just don't think that is the most probable outcome for a ton of reasons I've been highlighting on this channel for literally over half a decade. So we'll see what happens here. And then consider this too. Like, I understand some people are going to feel a little bit more scared now that, number hasn't been going up lately, and the ETF news didn't pan out as many lemming retail market speculators thought that it would. There was no buy the news event. Even so, Lyn Alden, who is well known in the world of crypto, and she is sharp as a tack. Let me tell you this. Her perspective is that over the, I don't know, what do you want to call it, like the midterm, number go up. And it has to do in part, with as far as what's covered in this particular article on your screen here, it has to do with the idea that long-term holders just aren't selling. Like, even after what's happened with the ETF stuff, yeah, there's been a sell-off to some degree, but long-term holders aren't selling. And so is there going to be a crash at this point? I don't pretend to know. But like I said, even if, look, these pullbacks are normal. So we get this headline from the Daily Hodl: Bitcoin in very early innings of structural bull run, as Bitcoin showing no signs of distribution, says Lyn Alden. Macroeconomics guru Lyn Alden believes that the ongoing bull market, Bitcoin bull market, is still intact as long-term holders refuse to sell even after Bitcoin's year-long rally. In a new interview on crypto influencer Natalie Brunell's YouTube channel, Alden says that Bitcoin is in the very early stages of its structural bull run. The macro guru highlights that she's still not seeing signs that long-term Bitcoin holders are selling their coins, even though Bitcoin is up about 160% in the last 12 months. And so, my friends, obviously there have been people selling, so you could call that a distribution, because by definition that certainly makes sense. But if you're talking about the long-term holders here, as far as she's concerned, it's just not happening, at least not now. And so if the number goes lower, now they're going to be enticed to sell after seeing it run up that high and then back down, and then they're going to? She doesn't think so. So here's the quote from her. So far, we've not really seen any sign of distribution. So when Bitcoin goes through major bull runs, normally some of those older holders start to sell into that market strength. Maybe they want to rebalance, maybe they want to consume. So you see some of that distribution as new buyers come in, and that process hasn't even started yet based on any sort of on-chain analysis you look at. I still think we're very early in this structural bull run, but I do think it's important not to take a bull run for granted. It's not necessarily owed to you just because the halving is happening or just because it's on that cycle. I think it's probably still likely over the next 2 years, but it is important to manage your expectations and risk accordingly, end quote. Which sounds perfectly reasonable. Again, nobody knows. It's just one more person's opinion. But it's just, admittedly, like, if this is the point where the market runs, admittedly, it's a bit weird because it hasn't been a full 4 years since we were in this position last. So it's a bit peculiar. But that's also why, chart analyst Credible Crypto, he says, well, no, this does make sense. And he's had this thesis literally for years. Like, this is actually what he was expecting to happen years ago. So that's why I'm very curious to see if he ends up being right. But he was basically saying it's more like a super cycle, and that we're just seeing longer cycles in Bitcoin than we had seen in the past. It's just part of the maturation process, basically. So if it's just an extended cycle that actually started back in 2018 or whatever, to him that makes sense. And so it'll be interesting to see what's happening. But he thinks that's what the explanation is for this. And so here you have, according to Lyn Alden, we're not really seeing any distribution from the long-term holders. Well, that's fantastic, because I'll tell you this, the market cycle where I jumped in 2017, by the time we got to the all-time high for Bitcoin at the time, close to $20,000, let me tell you, the long-term holders, they were getting out, and the on-chain data shows that. We are not seeing that here. This part does look different. As far as what that means, we're all going to find out together. I'm just glad I'm not in the prediction game because, I don't need that grief. I do not need that grief. I have fun running this channel and hanging out with you guys and sharing perspective and just thoughts and shooting the S word, all that crap. But yeah, I'm glad I'm not in the prediction game. So we're going to find out together here, but I'll just say this. It just doesn't make logical sense to me to be fearful just because market doesn't go straight up. It's never going to. What we're seeing right now is what Bitcoin and crypto market, broadly speaking, has been doing for 15 freaking years. And it continues to do that, and you get hit in the emotions because it's doing what it's been doing for 15 years? Does that actually make logical sense to you? To me, no. But I do understand, since we're humans and not actual robots, I understand why it's an emotional gut punch when you see your net worth go down, and then you start to question, oh, did I do something wrong? And oh my God, if I just invested and now it's down 30%, my God, what have I done? I understand it. That's what humans do. But then look at the data. What does the market do? What has it done for 15 years? It beats people the hell up. That's exactly what it does. And so eventually when you just let that sink in one day, you can just kind of let it go. Which is why I sleep easy every single night. And I have a fun time hanging out in the space. And not timing. I'll tell you this, though. If I were getting in and out of positions and thinking that I'm smarter than everybody else and I can time markets, I would be stressed out of my freaking mind. Putting money at risk constantly. Traders lose money. Almost all of them. Studies show upwards of 90%. No, I ain't playing that game. And I think the rest that do make money, I'm not even convinced they make a lot of money. So now kudos to the ones who actually are good at it. I do respect that skill. But do I want that stress in my life? Hell no, I don't want that stress in my life. So I sure as hell am not going to be getting in and out of positions knowing that I don't even have that skill set because I haven't even attempted to develop it. Yet people do this on a daily basis. It's so much easier to just buy and hold for years and years and years because people also have trouble not selling. But I'm telling you what's even harder is timing the market. That's even harder than not selling. Let me tell you that. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because if anything I say are right, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.